Good morning, traders. Welcome to the pre-market analysis that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. This is Spartan speaking, by the way. Just want to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of what's going to happen this morning before we get going here. So once I'm done speaking, Beth will pop on. She's going to be going through the macro environment, any news events that happen over the course of this evening or that we should be paying attention to or watching for today. Going through any of the bigger picture items, ETFs, commodities, etc., that makes sense to be looking at as well. Once that is completed, I'll come back on. We'll go through the individual names I'm looking at that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about those names. We'll go through the technicals on them, the news associated with those gap up, gap downs, as well as go through the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, the Qs, and the IWM. Once that is done, Selpeach will pop on. He'll be going through the macro environment from his perspective, going through any of the names that he's looking at, as well as analyst calls for the day, and then we'll do a quick little recap of those individual names that I talked about once the pre-market action plan is typed up, and we'll be ready to go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Beth, guys, and I'll talk to you shortly. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
So thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. For those of you joining us pre-market here at SpartanTrading.com. This is what we do every day, Monday through Friday, as long as the market is open. All right, let's see what kind of mischief we can find overnight. And I think Spartan will agree with this. I think we're close to the potential for a nice little pop. That doesn't mean we're not going to go back down and break lows, but for the most part, the selling is starting to dry up a little bit, but we've got no real institutions stepping up. A lot of rolling, a lot of in the money stuff. So it's a little bit confusing to figure things out. Overnight, what happened? We basically had worse than expected, worse than expected, worse than expected, and reserves a little bit better than expected out of China. Well, the narrative is it's all set in stone right now. What's going on there? Okay. Australia. Worse than expected, better than expected. I have no idea what. Final consumption, deflator, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Japan, look, Japan has not, since the heyday in the 80s, right? They've been on a decline. It's really sad to see. The currency is very weak. I mean, it just really hard to see. Industrial production better than expected in Germany. UK Halifax House Price Index. ECB, speech, GDP, better. GDP growth rate, better. Employment, yada, yada. Bond auction was obviously 1.4. Look, I mean, there's no question about it. Mad props to the British Central Bank. I mean, they're really dealing with this as what they feel is the correct way. And I agree with them. They have tightened the most, right? And I think it's fascinating. Foreign exchange reserves, we talked about that. Mortgage backs higher, right? Refinance stacks were lower. Applications lower. Right? Now we have a couple important things coming out today. We got Buckminster Brainerd Burr. We got the beige book, which we have to pay attention to because that's regional, right? In terms of what the different regions are seeing, right? Yeah. And then we've got Powell is speaking on Thursday. Yep. 9:10. He's not going to change his tune. I'd be shocked if he's changed his tune. Anyway, move on. Okay, so what do we got? All right, so let's take a look at this. Is the Monday earnings whistle Monday report. I look at this every Tuesday, well now Wednesday with that. So this is the first month that we saw guidance way lower. I mean, this is a big deal from 50 to 40. Okay, and basically the surprise is below, right? Earnings guess outside whisper was a little bit better than expected and revenue surprises. Okay, so the narrative is, and Southbridge and myself have discussed this, okay, you got the strong, look, Path showed us that a strong dollar, US dollar, could rain havoc on your returns, okay? So do not underestimate the US dollar as a headwind, huge headwind. No, I've said this for months and months and months. No good comes from a strong US dollar. Globally, no good. No good comes from a drought, right? And we're starting to see the cascade effect of a lot of things. This is a tsunami of epic proportion, and I don't want to grandiose it, okay? But the reality is factual. We're talking about California grid crumbling. We're going to see a lot of grids start to crumble. I think Texas is also going to have problems. And, you know, it just continues. And I don't think just because it's really, really, really bad in Europe that it can't get worse here. We're gonna have the best of the worst, but it's still going to be worse, right? Okay, so let's see. I mean, look, this is what it looks like, friends. Costco, this is nice, Costco, FedEx, right? Today I'm going to take a look at a little bit of the transports and see what's going on there, okay? Education of speculative former trade for George Soros, and if I'm going to get it, but it's given one important rule to trade by. The first trading day of the month is bullish. Inflows from 401k, yada, 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 yada. Buying the S&P at the close of the last day of the month and selling on the first day of the month is a statistically favorable trade, and trading after earnings on the first day of the month is a similar deal. Okay. And I'm going to show you statistically this is true, okay? Especially for September. And this is what it looks like. Buying a random stock at the open following it's selling at the end of the day has resulted in the average loss the past 20 years. So this is kind of little jewels coming out in terms of trading 101. Well, NEO, that's fat. I mean, seriously, they lowered guidance again. So things are really bad in China, right? All right, so what do we got? Earnings after the close today. GameStop, Dave and Buster's, Asana. This is kind of a nice little, and then Billy Fuel Cell. Right? Stuff to get us kind of interested. Okay, see me. Let's talk. 84% expectation, 75 basis point hike. The next FOMC meeting, which is, drum roll, please, 14 days, 5 hours, 52 minutes, and 0 seconds. Okay, I don't care about that. This is what I care about. All right, so we're creeping higher to 3 3/4, 4%. This is by the July. This is just pathetic. It's pathetic. Right? Let's see what's going high. Exports growth weekend in August. A surging inflation hit overseas demand and COVID-19. Look, there's zero COVID. And Dr. Scott is saying this is really a bad strain that they've got going on. What can I tell you? Not a good look. All right, let's take a peek here. German manufacturing orders 2015 is the 100. That's what they're using as their bill. Okay. And consumer goods, look at this. Oh my goodness gracious. Average power prices in Southern California, $1 per milliwatt. Jiminy crickets, look at this. Look, okay, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm telling you right now, okay? We here in the USA are still going to get suffer. Okay, we're not going to suffer as much as Europe, sadly so. But I guess it's, you Americans say yay. But look at this: $300 per milliwatt hour. Tip Shield doing well, yay. The AI bull bear spread. Okay, so we know the AI, they do these polls all the time, right? We got a lot of bears out there, right? I still think if we can hold the low, okay, this morning's low into yesterday's low, right? I think we got a little double bottom there. We'll see what happens. Look, that's Spartan's bailiwick. We'll see what he has to say. I believe Carolyn Bourne is still, yep, she's still on vacation. Let's see what Liz has to say. And as you can see here, Search trends indicating consumer weakness. Food banks, SNAP, unemployment benefits. Okay, so why is the labor market so tight, right? People have left the workforce and they're not coming back. Or if they do, it's part-time, whatever. I mean, look, systemically, there's something going on here, right? I mean, I just can't continue to say this, right? The bulls are still on vacation. All right, so pressure remains down for as long as we're below 39. Now, this is Avi Gilbert, Elliott Wave, PEEP. Now, this is a scary one he just came up with. That scared the shit out of me. He's looking for a bounce up to here, right? This is like 4,200, I think it is. Yeah, 4,200. But looky-loo. This is all alt. If this scenario doesn't happen, he's looking down here below 3,400. I mean, that's kind of like, whoa, right? Whoa, whoa. Wall Street Journal. This is the one that got my attention. Utah's Great Salt Lake is disappearing with mounting economic costs. This is just the beginning of the narrative, friends. Okay. U.S. stocks on low after Labor Day weekend because of Europe. UN Atomic Agency details nuclear. This is just high stress conditions for power plant staff that could lead to increased human error. The Russians are doing what the Russians want. Yes, I said that. The Russians are doing what the Russians want. Okay, I'm just saying. Americans snap up Teslas, Bentleys, Lamborghinis as the luxury auto market booms. Now the Russians are getting their military stuff from North Korea now. So what's going on? Wink, wink, nod, nod. The Chinese are saying, okay, go ahead. Instead of the Chinese doing it, the North Koreans are doing it. So the question that begs is, why isn't some of these defense names ramping up production? Here in the United States, US looks at that 1950s law to boost clean energy. So look, there's a lot of moving parts, but the reality still is solar, nuclear power, a lot, even coal. There's talk with the railroads that basically they're bringing back the steam engines and stuff, coal running engines. I mean, there's a lot to go on, and we're going to talk about transports. We've got to talk about transports today. This is really important. And you know, it's not for the present, but it's for the future. Schools are back and confronting severe learning losses, right? This is huge, okay? Because part of that growth that we see is a function of education, efficiency. Quiet quitters make up half the US workforce, Gallop says. Young professionals surveyed said they were the most disengaged. A big source of tension is returning to the office. Look, we know there's a paradigm here shift that is unexplainable. Why the labor market's so tight, right? And I also showed you have to leave your present job in order to benefit from the wage hikes you get from your next job. I'm just saying it. People are not surviving if they stayed with the company for years and years and years. It's negative, big time negative. People who have switched jobs are positive. That's the reality. And that's the shit show we're going to be having. TikTok, it's Reels or YouTube Shorts. Who will run the show? I don't know. Can't tell you. All right, today's the day, my friends. Apple-licious. Let's do it. I got my new watch. It was an SE because I really don't want I don't need the, EKG and stuff like that. I got it for like $220. I thought that was pretty cool. Why not? I don't care. I don't need the present watch. And they're so honking big. I like the little watches. All right, Balance, what do we got? 13 stocks with growth, value, and momentum. Let's take a peek. I like these articles, actually. That doesn't mean they're really good, but, So T-Mobile is getting a lot of attention. a lot of attention. Okay, so we'll take a peek at that. I might buy a little bit for my IRA. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, what do we got? Congress aims to seek chip fundings proposals by February. U.S. services gauges show largest split in 2020. CEO says consumers and business still in good shape. Investors are pouring into U.S. stocks, you wouldn't know it, to avoid greater turbulence overseas. I can believe that. Basically, we're talking $22 per pay. To be honest with you, that's the minimum that you have to do. Even here in my state, okay, for my caretakers, they have 3 pay hikes coming because they know that they're behind the ball, and their base now is like $23 an hour. Okay, I mean, this is a big deal, right? Millions of rockets and artillery shells from North Korea, France back to European Union-wide windfall tax. New Prime Minister Liz Truss was on a call for Joe Biden. Officials are warning in California residents to prepare for rolling blackouts. It's coming. The National Labor Relations Board is proposing a new rule that would make it easier for workers to say they are employed by 2 employers at once. I showed you the graph yesterday about people having multiple jobs. Okay. To make ends meet. And don't tell me people, you know, look, we can have a narrative about people who are on assistance, okay? But the vast majority of people who need assistance, and they're doing whatever they can, okay? And whatever they can is having multiple jobs, right? AIG is seeking valuation up to $115 in the IPO of its core bridge financial. Blocked Illumina's acquisition, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so let's take a peek. What do we got going on here? Okay. Google CEO says he hopes to make company 20%. Look, this is what I've been talking about. This is a narrative. Okay. How do you make your company, your bottom line cleaner? Okay. There's only so much you can do internally. Okay. The next best thing is laying off staff. That's why unemployment has to go up, because you're going to see these big tech names pulling offers, laying off. Okay. This is what it looks like. This is the culmination, and then we'll start to see unemployment start to rise. I can't tell you why it hasn't happened yet. Okay, but it will be. There's no statistical way it can't happen. There's just none. Okay. And you'll say, but Beth, look at the tight labor market. I don't know what to tell you. Drops further, NEO, we know, yada, yada, yields dip, following. We're getting close on the TLT. Putin claims the US wants to preserve global dictatorship. Yay! Bitcoin hits lowest level since June as crypto market drops below 1 trillion. Yeah, we have, in my class, we have some ITO puts on, which is going to pass. What do we got? Faces potential union challenge from the Teamsters. This is what's going to happen across the board. Walmart collaborates with United Health to expand healthcare services. Yes, nice. Energy trading risks collapse over $1.5 trillion in margin calls. So Ghost told me yesterday, okay, that there was a massive margin call going on in Europe. Okay, guess what? He was right. And that's why we saw the oil gas collapse. Okay, we're getting close here. Okay, we're getting close to a bounce on natty gas, just so you know. Yeah, so in outdoors beats by 26. Bitcoin's broken. Yeah, we know. Plunges after load guidance, mission cuts strategically. Well, yeah, I'll be honest with you. Those are the only place you can get non-stops for me, and then out to the West Coast and Northeast. Can you believe that? I have to go to New York, JFK, to get a West Coast flight. Anyways, what we got? IMMO, more insider buying. What else we got? Hog. That's kind of interesting, don't you think? President CEO. Right? What do we got in terms of sales? Stock options for court, stock options for LTRX, ALKT. Okay. Right. You were up just a second ago. What? All right, let's talk. These are pretty much paired. We saw a lot of in the money stuff come through. Okay. And to me, if a lot of it felt like paper replacement, I don't know, a lot of it was weekly. It was just really fascinating, to be honest with you. I mean, there's nothing to go into from this. There's literally nothing to go into from this. Until we see longer dated call sweeps, new positions come in, or volume come in on the equity side, then I really have to question. All right, so SHV, and then we have SPY, then we have Q. Triple M had this was Doug Pool, right? Interesting, right? I don't know what to tell you. This is like I say, and I'm going to show you in a second what I'm thinking right now. Okay, Apple volume coming in on the stock. This is all equity, right? I mean, the options are broken on this stuff. BTU 5, ADT 5, iBroker, Tesla, and UNP. Right? See what our downgrades look like for today. Downgrade, but no change in price. Downgrade up, no change. What do you want me to say about this? What's the point, may I ask, if you're going to do this stuff, sort of stuff? All right, IHP, oh, pins. Deepak from Wolf. This is a 75% dude. Yeah, there you go, friends. That's what's going on. There's your pins news, right? All right, let's talk. All right, this is the cues going into the midterms. Okay. All right. So this is across the board. This is going out 23 years. Okay, and this is the midterms, right? So it's pretty much sloppy choppy until a couple weeks into October, 3 to 2, 2%. But then when you look at this, okay, I'm just saying this is 100% statistical back test going back to early 2000. Now, granted, the problem we have here is, which should be fairly obvious to everybody, is that it's after the dot-com bubble, right? So I'm just saying, right? So let's take a look at the SPY now. All right, the SPY, we can go to 29 years, right? Let's look at the midterms here. September is a shit show and into beginning of October. 5 out of 2, 5 out of 7, which is notable, right? And then we've got this 2.9%. And this does go farther back. This goes back to the 1990s. So this does incorporate the dot-com bubble, the financial crisis, you know it, right? And then you have here, right? 5 out of 7 gain, and it's a 6%. Okay, now let's take a look at the Dow Jones. What? Right, so here's DJI. And we can go back 125 years. Anyways, for the Dow, 18 out of 29, losses 1.4. And then you see here, friends, right? October, 20 out of 29. So here we go. Let's end of September, beginning of October is when we start to see the rally in the market. Best, a lot of 73% is oversold. Now, let's talk about this. Don't forget we had that rally, which kind of mutes it. It just kind of messes everything up, right? So if you go back, right, This is 1928. Okay. When the S&P issues oversold 14 days, stochastic is below 20 and it exceeds 73%. It's bullish. 2 months. 3 months up. And it started in June. And it's going to start again in August, overlapping. Okay. Now, this is 67%, so it's not a lot that I can hang my hat on. Same thing here. This is not statistically viable for me to do anything. But it's nice to know, right? You can see it, but this is what a bear market looks like, guys and gals. Remember, this is what we saw day in and day out, week in and week out. You did get counter-trend bounces, but for the most part, you stayed. It's like a bull market. You don't pick a top. It's a bear market. You don't pick a bottom. You can scalp it on a bounce, relief bounce, but better be careful. Right? All right, let's do it here. All right. Yield curve is steepening. Rates are down across the board in Europe. Rates are down across the board everywhere. All right. This is the balance sheet. So we continue to come down from the peak. And we're now down 1.61% of the balance sheet. So they are slowly unwinding, 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 unwinding. This is their goal right here. Right? Okay. So don't forget, I discussed this with you ad nauseum. What they sell will basically support the yield curve. It's what they're going to do. And they're going to force these people that have a huge, huge bet on the inversion to start to flip it. South Beach has mentioned this multiple times. Basically, they're selling stocks to buy bonds. Okay. I mean, this is the problem we have right now here. Productivity. This is what it all looks like right now. Here's the PCE trim, not even close. Haven't even made a dent in it. All right, here's the 1030. This is actually, like I say, this is steepening. Okay, not inverting. And it's making a lower high. Ta-da! Like I say, the Fed on their balance sheet can do more than you expect. And a lot of that would be mortgage-backed stuff, right? Longer dated. Now, this is the one that's really fascinating to me. This is the one piece of the puzzle that has not happened. It continues. This is a 3-month tenure and it continues to invert. Okay. Once we get this down to here, click, 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 we should have, full bore recession within a couple months. Okay. As the 2.5 continues to steepen, not invert. And you can see this. This is an 85% move off of that low. Now, I told you that, when you look at the move, it was a monster kick-ass move. But, people will start to cover on this. Here's the 210s, continues to steepen. And here's the TLT. Okay, let's talk about the TLT. I think we actually hold, all right, it's all about risk reward, right, for me, right? I have TBX on and I have some short stuff on, right? I have some longer dated TLT spread. What will happen is when we get down here, I'm going to lift off my right on. I'm going to cover my right. Okay. Chinese, 10-year, you know the drill. Like I think, like I said, I think minimally here, right? And I actually think we could get all the way down here. They have to. It's quantitative easing, right? Germany, like I say, top dog in terms of hiking. God bless them. Right? Inflation continues to go up there. And there's Germany. Like I say, when you in Germany are still in the low end, it's quantitative easing. And I'll be honest with you, I actually feel sorry. I mean, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, the EU, as well as the UK. Just don't underestimate it. Okay, let's talk about these. I mentioned this before. Nobody seems to believe we broke out. Why would you pick a top in the dollar? We broke out. Okay, next leg up coming. And I think that we actually get here by, well, where is this? All right, so the end of the year would be here 114. This is the worst case scenario globally for the dollar. All commodities are priced in dollars, except actually the Chinese futures on crude is priced in gold, just so you know. Okay, all right, here's the yen. Just terrific, come on. Just terrific. Chinese yuan continues to weaken. And you got it, CQQ continues to fall. Cryptos, I don't know if we care here, but boom. All right, commodities, let's take a peek here. What's up, what's down? All right, so let's take a look at this. So what's down? OJ, natty gas, still, yada, yada, yada. What's up? Robustly wheat. I told you, I was very specific. September will be the low in the agricultural names simply because of the drought. Now, don't forget, farmers hedge, okay, a year in advance, right? 6 months to a year in advance, their crops. Okay. They may cover that, right? And basically let it go to see where prices are as the months go forward. Right? This is a timing cycle we're in right now. Guess what? Wheat, oats, soybean, corn, hogs, cattle. What do they? Hogs and cattle need feed, right? Right? Sugar's up. Right? You got live cattle. I mean, I'm just saying. DVC, like I say, this is the month when we have a timing cycle coming in here. Let's look at DVA. I've talked about this multiple times. Timing cycle right here. It held, it's making higher lows. You know the drill.
All right, Beth, ready to pop on whenever here. All right, thank you so much, guys. Morning, what is going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. If you guys are new to chat and haven't already done so, make sure to click on that. If you're new members, I should say. If you're new to members coming in from the free Discord, make sure to be clicking on that Discord link that we did send you. You do need to leave the server first before clicking the link, otherwise you won't be assigned the new roles. So you can see all of the channels in the room. So make sure to do that when you guys do come in and you're new. Click on that new to chat information section, scroll to the very, very top, read it from the top down. I'm starting at the disclaimer, and there's a whole bunch of great information in there for you. Risk reward, super report, go through that section. Summary of how this chat works, breaks down all the channels, works, you'll properly navigate the chat throughout the day. And then, yeah, just continue to scroll down and read through it. We'll go through that once we do close down the YouTube stream in a little bit. All right, pre-market tickers on watch. What are we looking at today, guys? A couple different things. Tesla, Coop, Lilly, SHPH, Path, and Bivy. Tesla gapping down slightly in sympathy with the market. Coop, earnings beat, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth of 17.8%. Q3 guidance in line, 2023 guidance raised, stocks gapping up. I don't know why I have a negative there. Should be a positive. There we go. Lilly gapping up in slight continuation. SHPH pulling back after last day's movement to close. Path partners with Snowflake Snow to launch data integration on Data Cloud. And then Bivy BioV sees positive results for trial for NE3107 treatment for Alzheimer's, stocks gapping up. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, first two that we're looking at today, guys, are going to be Tesla and Coop. So let's have a gander at those. Just gonna move these two things. There we go. Get that out of the way. All right, so first two guys, Tesla and Coop. Let's have a look. So Tesla slight gap down with the market. Nothing too major, but worth keeping an eye on for sure. Let's get all the recent range levels here. Things have been trading in a pretty tight range as of late. That need support. that much further out from here. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday. $271.65 pivot. This level is able to hold. We got towards 275.15 to 277.79. That level breaks. We can see 283.13. Unable to hold the 271.65 pivot. Room towards 265.95 to 260.35 on the downside. Overall on Tesla right now, going to be leaning more on the bearish neutral side today. Looking for a test of the pivot this morning. We'll see if it's able to hold. If it's unable to do so, we should see continuation lower. But we'll see. I mean, Tesla's going to be doing a pretty good job of holding up. Yesterday, obviously, market pulled back. This had relative strength in it, so that was definitely notable. We'll see if that continues to be the case today or not. Pivot's going to be the big level that we need to be paying attention to today. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at the next name, Coop here. So gapping up on those earnings, pretty solid. Pretty impressed with the guide on that, actually. That 2023 guide up was nice. But they did lower expectations for how many quarters. So at some point you expect them to guide up again. Okay. That should be good. $60.75 pivot level is able to hold. $62.93 to the $65.49 level will be tested. Unable to hold. $58.26 to $55.60 on the downside. Overall on Coop, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to stay intact, which I do believe it will. So that is Tesla, that is Coop. Let's take a screenshot of these two. Let's move on to the next. Let's take a look at Lilly. Let's take a look at SHPH. Sorry, guys. So Lilly, slight gap up after last day's move. Very low volume, but I do like the chart quite a bit, so I thought I'd include it. And then typically when the market's weak, I do like to go after the drug names that tend to pay. Money likes to rotate into these. A little bit of a safe haven. All right, let's see what we got room to today. 307.21 pivot levels able to hold. 309.47. The 312.68, that level breaks. 315.43 will be tested. Unable to hold. 335 to 299.38 on the downside. Overall on Lilly, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to hold. That is Lilly. Let's take a look at SHPH here. All right, we're going to go to the intraday chart to get our levels. Perfect. 24.69 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to be reclaimed. We got room towards 31.21. If that level breaks, we can see further continuation on SHPH into the 39.54. Unable to hold 19.62 to the 12.01 on the downside, which would be the last day low. So I'll keep an eye on the pivot this morning. If that level can be reclaimed, we can definitely get that little back push to the upside. I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today if the pivot's able to be reclaimed early on. So that's Lily, that is SHPH. Let's take a look at the next two, Path and Bibby. Yeah. Maybe some fips to the downside here, guys. There we go. So there were fibs. Okay, so pivot to the downside today, 1242 levels able to hold 315 to 1389. That level breaks 1481, unable to hold 1189 to the 1116 level on the downside will be tested. Overall on path, going to be leaning bearish, looking for any sort of pop and topping to take the name short. Break to all-time lows, typically you get some continuation. So that's what I'll be looking for today on the name. Ugly looking chart, that's for sure. All right, Bivy, let's have a look at this. All right, 450 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold towards 479 to 505, unable to hold 416 to 391 on the downside. Overall on Bivy, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if the pivot point is able to hold. So that's path, that is Bivy. Let's take a look at the spy and the fang here, guys. 389. Pivot to the downside today on the SPY. Unable to hold 386.97 to 383.96. Able to hold 398.92 to 392.35 on the upside. So yesterday we did, pull through that slight down or sorry, slight double bottom on the daily. We're still around that range at the moment. This pivot's going to be pretty important today. If it's unable to hold, I think you're going to get that next confirmation for the next leg down on the market. And I would be looking around 385 to 383 on it. So we'll see what happens. 3 to 9 should be a pretty important level. Able to hold, double bottom's going to hold. You're going to get a bounce. Simple as that. So pivot is going to be extremely important level up the gate, and definitely pay attention to it. Right now, I'll be leaning on the bearish neutral side because there's not really any reason to be leaning bullish besides that double bottom. But, I'm not going to have any bias. It's just going to be a matter of the pivot holding or not. I'm going to be playing the chart based off of that. So we'll keep an eye on those levels there. Let's take a look at Apple. We can take a look at the daily on Apple. Same thing as the market. You got that double bottom as of late that broke. It's kind of stair stepping to the downside right now. Now, pivot is going to be 154.87, which is that double bottom level. Level's able to hold 157.30 to 158.72. Unable to hold 153.34 to 151.03. Again, watch the pivot. That's going to dictate your direction. Leaning bearish until the pivot is reclaimed. Right at the moment, we are below it. Let's take a look at Amazon. Right. 127.10 pivot to the downside today. Levels unable to hold towards 125.23 to 122.63. Able to hold 128.94 to 131.83. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side of Amazon today, looking for continuation lower if that pivot point is unable to hold. So that is Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. $217.42 pivot, levels able to hold towards 223.15 to 229.28. Unable to hold 210.38 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Netflix, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a hold of the pivot, bounce higher. This thing's done a pretty good job of holding its ranges as of late. I know it did break that range to the downside yesterday, but it still could reclaim it today and hold it. It's currently above it at the moment. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And then let's take a look at Meta and Google. Meta 160.45 pivot, levels able to be reclaimed towards 165.09 to 168.76. Unable to hold 154.84 to 150.20 on the downside will be tested. Overall on Meta, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for a continuation lower if that pivot point's unable to hold. So this one was holding up very well last week. Yesterday broke that range to the downside, so that relative strength kind of evaporated. And yeah, it looks like it's got some room lower because of that. Let's take a look lastly, and but not leastly, but at Google here. 105.62 pivot levels able to hold 108.08 to 110.01 will be tested, unable to hold 103.98 to 101.91 on the downside. Overall, on Google, same thing, going to be leaning bearish if the pivot point breaks. So pivots unable to hold, get some decent room for continuation to the downside here. So that is Google. Let's take a look at the VIX Qs IWM. $27.39 pivot level holds towards 28.08 to 28.82, unable to hold 26.06 to the 24.90 on the downside will be tested. Not in any particular direction, guys, but obviously paying attention to what the VIX is doing on the upside here. That pivot point is the breakout of the range to the upside, so we definitely got to keep an eye on that today. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take a look at the Qs. $294.90 pivot level holds 298.40 to 304.14, unable to hold 288.26 to 282.61 on the downside will be tested. Overall on the QQQ, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today. If the pivot point is unable to hold, we should see continuation lower. So that's the Qs. And then last but not least, guys, IWM, let's have a gander at that. Look, let's see what's going on here. So IWM, we got the double bottom from last day, which we are going to label for sure. $177.56 pivot to the downside today. Levels unable to hold, move towards 175, able to hold 180.28 on the upside. Overall on the IW, I'm going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower if that pivot point is unable to hold. So that is the IWM. So that's a SPY, that's the thing. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. Just because we got a minute here, let's do some Microsoft as well. Okay, I'm just going to run up a little bit. 254.02 pivot, levels able to hold 256.62. That level breaks 259.89 to the 263.80. Unable to hold the 250.13 on the downside. Actually, Microsoft looks like it can come off the lows right at the moment. So keep an eye on that pivot point. I do like, don't mind the look actually from a bullish perspective. So let's see what happens on that one. Screenshot this. And the last but not least, I do want to take a look at Nvidia as I do every day. Starts to come into some ton of support here. Quite the consolidated range, but 135.20 will be your pivot to the downside, unable to hold 133.49 to 132.06. Level breaks 129.51, able to hold, room back towards 137.78. And that is the video. All right. I'd be leaning more on the bearish neutral side right now at the moment. Actually, sorry, no, more like bullish, I guess, because coming into that meant much support. Could grind lower, but it's not going to be able to break through these levels easily now. Anyways, guys, that's a SPY. That's the thing. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today. Going to go ahead, pass it over to Selfbeach while I type up that pre-market action plan. And then we'll do a quick little recap before the open. Selfbeach, if you're ready, it's all yours for now.
Hey guys, hump day. Okay, so let's look at the bonds. Start with, okay, 332 on the 10-year, 347 on the 30-year. I think this is the highest yield. I don't think it is the highest yield since 2014. Okay, and I was hearing this morning on TV that mortgages are have a 6 in front of them now, 6%. When is, what was it, a year ago they were 0, more or less, 1%, 2%. Now they're 6%. Big difference there. Let's look at the spread. 349 on the 2-year, 332 on the 10. So we're looking at what, not much, 16, 17 handle difference, really below the trading range that we've seen recently. In London, yields are down a little bit, 0.06 at 3.03%. Yields went crazy yesterday. That was part of the reason the market got hit. Okay, so yields keep going up. Germany, the yield on the 10-year is 157. They're down a little bit today, but yields are high. So if you're a government, you're really in between a rock and a hard place, okay? Because especially if you're in Europe, all right, you have all these higher expenses. And if you raise rates, then you're really going to hurt people. I mean, so I understand why they're keeping rates low in the face of this crazy inflation that you know, it's in the system. You know, it's a really tough spot. It really is. And I don't see it improving anytime soon unless this war with Ukraine ends. And it feels to me, I don't know about you guys, that everybody's dug in, especially the Russians. So that situation is kind of terrible. Let's look at commodities this morning. Oil's down a little bit, 70 cents. Natural gas has been all over the place. I came in short UNG, covered, made a little money, and have stayed out of it. Volatility there is really hard, really high at the moment. Short it yesterday too. Now I'm flat. Copper in a trading range. Nothing really there to talk about. Natural gas has come in. It's 808. I think it was down a bunch yesterday. You know, I don't know what percentage it was. I think 10% or something like that. So we're at 8 in the 808, but prices in Europe are through the roof. And that's that, right? Agricultural commodities, they're staying pretty tame. You know, the one I'm watching is rice because of most people, you know, their existence depends on rice. So I watch that one, you know. Lumber's broken 500, you know, I don't know. Basically agricultural commodities have been in the tight range, okay, by and large. Currency wise, that's the big bugaboo, guys. All right, so the dollar's up against North America. I mean, these foreign, the US dollar is through the freaking roof, okay? 145 on the Japanese yen, okay? It was up, it was last week, it was like in the 135 area, okay? Now it's 145. This is a currency, guys. This is not a stock. Currencies historically don't move like this, all right? And this is inflicting pain like you can't believe because everything's priced in dollars, all right? Especially energy. So not only do they have to pay an escalating price, but they're losing money on the currency translation. And that is a super big problem, okay? The yen, So it's up against the whatever. Let's look at against the yen we looked at. Against the Chinese currency, we're at 697. I said it would go to 7. It probably goes right through that, to be honest with you guys. So that's that. As far as the euro's concerned, it's 9.98. And as bad as the euro is, guys, the pound is even worse. Okay, 114. So 138 to 114. That is pain, guys. So that's the currencies. Crypto, Bitcoin's flat, Ethereum's down 3%, Solana's down, what, flat. Cryptos are like, to me, I couldn't give a damn, be honest. Let's look at the foreign markets. FTSE is down 1%, DAX is down 0.5%, and Nikkei was down 0.7%. China was basically flat. Hong Kong was down about 1%. Okay, so that's that. Okay, banks and Fed. What Twin says, I agree with 100%. Whatever that guy at the Journal says is what guys, basically is going to happen. So they're going to raise 75 basis points. The odds right now are what? I think 30% are looking for a 50 and 70% for 75. So I would imagine 75 is a number. Plus you had that statement, right? That the Wall Street Journal said Powell pledges to reduce inflation even if it increases unemployment, appears to have the backing for 75 versus 50% next month. That's probably in the market. I don't think it really matters a whole lot, to be honest with you. All right. But guys, the setup in the market is really, really, really bad. Okay. Prices are not that cheap. We're trading at 16.5 times normal. Okay. If you read Barron's over the weekend, Dan Niles said when you have it over, 6% CPI, we're much higher than that. PEs normally trade at 12. So that would be what, 25% lower from here. I think that is very, it would be painful, but I think it's, there's definitely a shot of that happening for sure. You had the Deutsche Bank CEO this morning say that we're going to see a severe recession in Europe, that it's inevitable. I think he's right. Goldman saying that the market has yet to make a decisive low. I mean, when you look at the macro picture, guys, it's really hard to see any bright spots, to be perfectly frank. All right. And at the end of the day, stocks trade on earnings. Okay. So if we're trading at 16.5 times, okay, I mean, what do you guys think earnings are going to be? The US S&P 500, probably every one of them, with the exception of probably less than 10, do all their, do a ton of business outside the US. The currency translation is killing them, okay, for the most part, and their customers are wounded. I mean, so how are they going to make their numbers? All right, when your customers are hurting, how do you make your numbers, especially in an inflationary environment where, price increases are very difficult to put through? So I think the setup stinks. When I look at my technicals, I use that 10-17 cross on the weekly. Even with that rally, I never got a cross. Okay, I have to have a cross for 2 successive Mondays. Didn't get that, and now that it looks like there's no there's no support anywhere that I can see. No EMA support for sure, and I think the setup is really, really crappy, and the dollar is just like icing on the cake. I was talking to I don't even know if I was talking to my dad yesterday, and he, is a history buff, very smart guy. And he said, basically when Hitler came into power, it was more or less a kind of similar setup. People were very upset, disenchanted. Europeans are going to be freezing their freaking asses off this winter. And the setup really, really stinks. Okay, so don't be a hero. That's just my opinion, guys. But I'm just laying it out there. You guys do what you want. I'm just telling you how I see it. What else happened? This Liz Truss is in charge now. He spoke to Biden. They're, she's a, very, very conservative politician. Biden, not so much. They think that, they hope that they can get along. Hedge funds have been buying individual stocks and hedging with indexes. I think we've seen that, right? You see how these indexes puts a trading like crazy. Apple has an event today, right? What else do we have? What happened in China overnight? Oh, China and Russia are meeting, right? Xi and Putin. That doesn't help the situation, right? We don't know what's going to happen there. We know that these two guys are joined at the hip at the moment. Crypto we talked about, oil market, it's in a trading range. I think, as things slow down, the price of oil will probably, moderate a little bit, but the guy at Goldman thinks we get to 140 on the crude. 140 on crude with the dollar as strong as it is just spells an incredible amount of pain. Vaccines, Mr. Market yesterday, more crap. Market acted like crap. I think it'll continue to act really heavy. What was the Dow was down 170, SPY 16, NASDAQ 84. And as far as groups are concerned, big oil, high PE tech, semis, China, virus stocks, cyclicals, they were all in the tank. Okay. So that was that. Well, you're showing the Google thing. So he had a little piece out this morning, basically saying that he's fearful that the growth is going to slow, and they have bloated workforce now. So he's kind of hinting at layoffs, and at the same time, he's hoping that he can divide, reallocate his human resources in such a way that they can grow the company faster than the macro environment would suggest. Okay, so, and if he can't do that, guys, you can bet your ass that there's a lot of layoffs coming at some of these really big high-tech firms. Okay, California. Listen to this one, guys. This is kind of amusing. He signed a law giving restaurant chain employees input over their wages. Think about that for a second. I mean, that state is so out of touch with the world. And now they want to go green by 2035, yet he's sending out stuff saying you better shut your power off. They don't have the power grid to get to point B. All right. Everybody wants to get from point A to point B in this green world that we all want to see in 15 minutes. And yet they don't realize that even if we could get there, we don't have the power grid to get us, to support it. Sometimes I think politicians are just a bunch of numbskulls, honestly. I mean, I want what they're smoking, to be honest with you. The Target CEO got a 3-year extension. He's 64. They have a 65 mandatory retirement. So I guess that's out the window. Good CEO, tripped up as of late, but you can't really blame him for that. And so they got Brian Cornell for another 3 years, which I guess is good. Ackman sees inflation cut in half by these recent rate hikes, which is a positive, right? See if there's anything else. These new rates, guys, on a $400,000 loan, okay, your extra payment per month on a $400,000 loan compared to, what did they say, 12 months ago, is $700 more a month. Smoke on that one, guys. That's a lot of dough, okay? That's a lot of dough. And so the assumption I would make from that is housing prices are going to get smashed. That's the conclusion I would come to, because affordability index has to be terrible. All right. I mean, that's how I can't see it any other way. Let me see if there's anything else on here that's worthwhile. Companies are making a push to go back to the office. We all know that, right? think that's it. Okay. I would say everything on the sheet that I took, from the news headlines, with the exception of Ackman's inflation cut by half, was negative. Okay. As far as individual names, we had some earnings out. Tiger, TIGR was good. ASO was good. Coop and REVG. That was the good stuff. AIG is spinning off a division and IPOing it. Core Bridge Financial. RIG, RIG, I know a lot of you guys trade that one, $181 million deep water contract. Apron amended a purchase agreement. That stock has been acting really well. I don't know if you guys follow that at all. KHC said they reaffirmed their numbers, but the stock is down anyway. Amtx, a company I've never heard of, signed a $7 billion deal with a bunch of airlines to supply fuel. And on the negative side, you had NEO, a little bit of a surprise there. G3, GWRE, Path, very bad there, and Newell. That was kind of yesterday's news. CRGY, 5 million share offering. PYCR is doing a secondary, and BCYC had phase 1 results that were not so great. Okay. After the close today, we got American Eagle, ASAN, Copart, Play, GME, Sol, Skill, VRNT, and Yext. And tomorrow we have less popular names: Billy, Lovesac, GoTo, Fuel Cell. Okay, and that's that. What else we got going on, guys? Kathy continues to buy the same shit name she's been buying all along: Teladoc, DNA, BFLY, MKFG. She bought more Square, EXAS, and she sold Signify, 1.6 million, and she sold a bunch of NNDM. I don't even know what that is. 2 million shares of that one. Insider buying in Hog and Noodles. Syndicate, I told you the deal, PYCR. There's 3 more IPOs coming this week from these, the reinvigorated Stratton Oakmounts of the world, BOUS and EF Hutton. It's really no different than what happened in the 80s with those companies. I'm surprised the SEC has not stepped in. Research-wise, positive note added Credit Suisse on CHPT, target 22. MGM added JP Morgan. They like the stock there. Stock's 47 target. PINS, positive note, upgrade there, target 28. Longer growth runway. Someone upgraded Netflix, but I don't think it was that great an upgrade. Let me find it. Basically saying they like the ad business, that ad, Netflix with ads. Jeffries, take the target they lowered the target, but they like it. Oh, Macquarie, they upgraded it from a sell to a neutral. Big deal. Target 230. Where's the stock? 220. That's a waste of time. Okay. On the short side, there really wasn't a whole lot, to be honest. Path, everybody, the lemmings don't like that stock because they missed. That's really it. Okay, look, September's a really tough month, guys, in a good year. So be careful this month. Even if you think I'm an idiot and I'm dead wrong, just be careful for the month of September. All right. You never know. And this is a really tough month. I think the setup is kind of crummy. And we'll see what happens. But, I'm not really constructive on the market whatsoever. My positions are tiny. The only stock that I really sunk my teeth into is MANU. Because I think, sports franchises always traded more than you would think. Okay, so that's it for me. I'm out of time. Stay out of trouble. Let's make our money and get flat, and that's the game. All right, Spartan, it's all yours.
Alrighty, thank you, Self Beach. Guys, morning, what's going on? So if you guys are new to chat, haven't already done so, make sure you click on that Discord link that's emailed to you. When you guys do come to Discord, it's going to look like this. First area to go to when you do come in, disclaimers, new to chat information section. Click on that, read it from the top down. We'll go over that stuff when we do close down the YouTube stream. If you're coming in from the free server, you do need to leave the server before clicking that Discord link that we did send you. Otherwise, you won't be assigned the new rules to see all the alert channels in chat. All right, let's take a look what we got going on today, guys. A couple different things. Pre-market tickers on watch. All the stuff's posted here. So if you want to just pause the YouTube stream, you can certainly read the actual plan. It's all here. You can see all the charts that are posted as well. And then you can see the same thing on the option side. All righty. So let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. A couple different things. Pre-market tickers on watch. What are we looking at today? Tesla, Coop, Lilly, SHPH, Path, and Bivy. Tesla gapping down slightly in sympathy with the market. Coop earnings beat EPS and revs. Year-over-year growth 17.8%. Q3 guidance in line. 2023 guidance raised. Lilly gapping up in slight continuation. SHPH pulling back after last day's move into close. Path partners with Snowflake Snow to launch data integration on Data Cloud. And then Bivy, BioV sees positive results for trial for NE3107 treatment for Alzheimer's. Stocks gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two we're looking at today, guys, Tesla and Coop. Let's have a gander. Tesla 271.65, pivot to the upside today. Level holds 275.15 to 277.79. Level breaks 283.13. Unable to hold 265.95 to 260.35 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher. Sorry, continuation pull to the downside if that pivot point's unable to hold it. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Coop pivot to the upside today is going to be 60.75. This level is unable to hold. Room towards 58.26 to 55.60. Able to hold 62.93 to 65.49. Leaning bullish neutral there. Let's take a look at the next two names, Lilly and SHPH. Uh, 307.21 pivots to the upside today on Lilly. Level holds 309.47 to 312.68. Unable to hold 303.35 to the 299.38 on the downside. Leaning bullish neutral there, looking for a continuation push higher today. Let's take a look at SHPH. Pivot to the downside today, or upside, I should say, I guess, would be the 24.69 spot. Levels able to be reclaimed 31.21, 39.54 above that. Unable to hold 19.62 to 12.01 on the downside, leaning on the bullish neutral side only if that pivot point can be reclaimed. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Take a look at the next two. Path and Bivy. Path 1242 pivot, level holds 1315, 1389 to 1481, unable to hold 1189 to 1116 on the downside. Overall on Path, going to be leaning on the bearish side, looking for a pop topping, take the name on the short. And then Bivy 450 pivot, level holds 479 to 505, unable to hold 416 to 391 on the downside. Going to be leaning bullish neutral there, looking for a continuation grind higher, assuming that pivot can hold as well. All right, let's take a look at the spine fang. Market 3 to 9 pivot to the downside today, unable to hold. Room into the 386.97 support. Breaks, we see the 383.96 level. Pivot holds, room higher into the 390.92 resistance. Breaks, we see the 392.35 tested. Knee bearish. Neutral on the market right now. But if that pivot holds, guys, I will be looking for a bounce. So it's all going to be about that pivot point today, simply put. I'm just going to post that chart and then we'll move on here. Keep waiting. All right. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the fang here. Apple pivot to the downside today is going to be 154.87 levels unable to hold, 153.34 to 151.03, able to hold 157.30 to 158.72 on the upside. Maybe leaning on the bearish neutral side of Apple, looking for continuation lower if that pivot point is unable to hold. Let's take a look at Amazon. Pivot to the downside today, 127.10, unable to hold. We got room for continuation lower towards 125.23 to 122.63. Able to hold 128.94 to 131.83 on the upside. Leaning on the bearish neutral side there as well. Let's take a look at Netflix. Pivot to the downside today is going to be 217.42. Levels able to hold. Room towards 223.15 to 229.28. Unable to hold 210.38 on the downside. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side, or sorry, bullish neutral side there if the pivot point's able to hold. Let's take a look at Meta. Pivot to the downside today, 160.45. Unable to hold. Room towards 154.84 to 150.20. Able to hold 165.09 to 166.76. 168, sorry, 76 on the upside. Let's take a look at Google. Pivot to the downside today, 105.62. Levels able to hold, room towards 108.08 to 110.01. Unable to hold 103.98 to 101.91 on the downside. Maybe leaning on the bearish neutral side today if that pivot point's unable to hold as well. Let's take a look at VIX, QZWM. VIX, guys, pivot upside today. Range breakout level, 27.39. Levels able to be reclaimed, 28.08, 28.82. Unable to hold 26.06, 24.90. So keep an eye on that. So let's take a look at the Qs. QQQ, 294.90 pivot level holds, room towards 298.40 to 304.10. Unable to hold 288.26. That level breaks 282.61 downside. And last but not least, guys, IWM. $177.56 level holds, 180.28, unable to hold 175 on the downside. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side there, looking for continuation lower if that pivot point's unable to hold. So, guys, that's a spy. That's the thing. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today. If you guys want to pop in, join us in chat, you can do so. Go to SpartanTrading.com, sign up there. Otherwise, thanks for watching, guys. There's also a free Discord link in the description of this YouTube video. You can certainly click on and pop in there as well. Anyways, guys, any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, thanks for watching.